Saudi Arabia's King Salman bin Abdulaziz has removed some of his top military chiefs in a series of overnight decrees. Among those replaced are the military chief of staff and the heads of the country's ground and air forces. It follows a shake-up launched by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman last November that's led to dozens of prominent figures being detained. Well, Mohammed Husain joins me now. He's a lecturer at Royal Holloway University here in the UK and a political expert on Saudi Arabia. Good to have you with us, Mohammed. So what do you make of this replacement of some of Saudi's top military officers? Is this something to do with dissatisfaction at the way the war in Yemen has been continuing?
Thank you so much. So I believe there are two main objectives of this political reshuffle. The first is to shift the blame for the continued failures in Yemen on these dismissed leaders. As you know, there's been successful failures in Saudi Arabia in the past few months, or actually in the entirety of the war. So by purging some of them, they could shift the blame and say that these are the commanders who have lost, etc., etc. And that might be the official reasoning that they will give later. The second, I believe, is just a purge of the military institution, which is a classical example of other dictatorships. MBS has been very distrustful of many of these individuals in the government, and he sees them as political threats, especially since they have weapons and they have influence within the army. In a similar case, Saddam Hussein purged his wife's uncle and his sons-in-law because although they were military leaders, he saw them as a threat to his rule. So this is just a similar thing. In November...
Okay, I want to ask you about the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in just a minute. I just want to ask you first before that, do you think this is going to mean a change in strategy in the war in Yemen? Because, of course, Saudi has been heavily criticised for the airstrikes, which have impacted hugely on the civilian population.
It could be, but I highly doubt that that's really the reasoning, because these commanders themselves were in a way taking orders from MBS and just continuing the same way. I think it's just shifting their loyalties because they were afraid of him, and now he has people who are willing to work his ways completely. So if anything, it might just increase the attacks on Yemen, which target civilians.
Okay, so as far as Crown Prince Mohammed goes, clearly there have been a lot of changes in Saudi since his father became king. He's very popular with the Saudi youth. How is he seen by the older guard, though? Because there are criticisms that he has a very unconventional approach. He's trying to consolidate power. How do you see it?
It is a consolidation of power, and that's why he is purging all this old guard. I think he's trying to distract the youth with these new initiatives that he's been taking. And recently, they incorporated women in the military, and I think there's no real intention to involve women. It's just a ploy to allow the younger generation to like him. Because if he was serious about involving women in politics and in society, he would have repealed the guardianship system, which has still been in place. So despite them being allowed to serve in the military, they still have a guardianship system which doesn't allow them to leave the house without the assistance or the signature of those who are their guardians.
Mohammed, good to get your thoughts there. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis. Mohammed Husain there.